Welcome to the Project Exodus Court podcast. My name is Paul. This is my good friend
Joel.
Joel.
What's up, guys?
We've got Stephanie behind as our executive producer, and our special guest tonight is Mary.
Hi.
Episode 55 of the Project Exodus Court podcast. We've kind of gotten to where we do this every 2 weeks now. It's actually like super consistent. So super excited to be back tonight for another hour of just talking about recovery stuff. And we're very, very fortunate and appreciative that Mary has joined us. How are you, Mary?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, what you do, any of that stuff.
All right. So where I'm from, originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where I grew up. That's where most of my story happens. I have some geographical changes throughout that, but for the most part, Albuquerque, New Mexico's home. That's where my family is. I moved here back in 2019, so right before COVID. Yeah, it was 2019. Yeah. Right before COVID, I relocated to Sarasota for a job. I work in education. I'm a teacher, so I came out here and followed a job, and I've loved it, and it's been a great community. So I've just stayed. I don't really have a desire to go anywhere else.
Sick.
Yeah.
I've known Mary since I guess
It was like
2022,
Okay.
August 2022. I knew about you before I got here, ironically. But yeah, like you're kind of a powerhouse in our community when it comes to, recovery. So, we're appreciative for you joining us tonight. And Mr. Joel,
What's up?
what's been going on with you lately?
I was just trying to think of, I don't even know. Steph, what the heck have I even been doing? Stressing.
We are so busy. We both are busy. So he's always with the houses, and I had 2 jobs, finishing my master's degree.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. She's getting ready to graduate next weekend, so we're going up to Jacksonville for a couple days.
Wait, what? That's the graduation you're going to?
Yes,
Yeah.
to my master's degree in education.
Congrats. That's exciting.
That's awesome. I
had
didn't
no
know
idea.
that. I just knew y'all were going to some thing, but I didn't know it was.
Your graduation.
Joel doesn't.
You got to be there for
Did
that.
you tell me that, Joel?
Yeah. Right now.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations,
the
Steph.
podcast.
That's
Thanks.
amazing. That's
That's how
awesome.
you know when men doesn't listen.
That's a big deal. That's
It's
awesome.
a huge deal. Yeah.
It's a huge deal.
So your master's is in education?
Yes.
Oh, well, what are the odds? Mary's
Yep.
degrees in
The educating.
I've been in
educated.
education for 14 years.
Oh yeah,
So-
I've been teaching now for God, I don't even know. Yeah,
So
12 years.
what do you
11
teach?
Right now, I teach elementary. For a long time, I was a kindergarten teacher, the little ones. But I've taught every age group. So I've taught. When I first moved out to Sarasota, I was teaching high school kids, middle school kids. But my suite, where I've most of my teaching career has been kindergarten. Right now, I'm teaching first and second grade together.
What's your preference?
Preference, I mean, probably I'm finding because I've never taught second grade. This is the first year teaching second grade. I really like second grade, but my sweet spot, probably first. First would be my preference. Okay, kindergarten, first grade.
What is that like?
Hectic, it's stressful. I think I said this to you this week, the hardest job you'll ever love. One of those things where I've kind of learned to, especially throughout like recovery and how much service is a part of my, thank you for calling me a powerhouse in the community, I feel. But no, I mean, service is big to me. I think when you're a person who definitely is a caretaker, likes to help other people. And there's a lot of that in recovery that lets me do that with other people. But in my time in sobriety, I have to realize too, like my job is service in a lot of ways. So like there's times where I have periods where I was like sponsoring a ton of women and doing things like this. I was going to houses, I was going to treatment centers, and all while I was teaching, and I was like not filling my own cup. Like all my energy was just going to other people, kids, sobriety. I mean, it was keeping me sober, but one of those things where it just was a lot where it's like, what is Mary doing for Mary?
Oh, this is going to be a good episode. I
Yeah.
can tell already.
That's
Like filling your own cup. Like that sounds
Yeah.
like. Tell us about that. Like, Joel had mentioned like his disconnect with AA recently and meetings. Poor guy. What is a good message to someone that's maybe in early recovery about filling your own cup and not getting overextending into too many service commitments? Like the importance behind that.
tough for me.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'll take it. I'll take that question. So one of the main things when I think back on like my time in recovery, and God willing, I'm coming up on 8 years in July. But a big thing I had to unlearn for me was people pleasing. Like I am a 100% people pleaser. And a lot of the drinking that I did and the self-medicating I did was because I was really good at like the victim mentality of like taking on other people's stuff and carrying it for them. And so that was a huge thing for me that sobriety opened up of like, what does Mary need? And I'm looking back too, I've thought a lot about, because as I think alcoholics, they always say you're selfish, you're self-seeking. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like everything I do is for other people. But it became selfish behavior because I would let other people, it's like if you were going through stuff, I would carry it and then you would be hurting me with your stuff. So a big shift into sobriety was like, what fills Mary's cup? Like, what does Mary like to do that brings me joy, that makes me feel purpose? Like I had to look at all of that when I came in. And a lot of it is boundaries. And I'm still working on that 7.5 years in of just figuring out what works for me, and what my program looks like changes all the time because I'm real good at going like an alcoholic and going too hard in it, doing too much, and then having to step back and realize that exactly this is taking on too much. I'm taking on other people's stuff. I have no business. That's controlling people, places, and things that I don't have any place in. But in early sobriety, especially, my biggest thing was just showing up. Like, a little bit about, my past and stuff. When I came to the realization that I was an alcoholic and I had an issue with alcohol, like my parents are both children of alcoholics. My brother has long-term sobriety. It was like, wasn't a surprise to me that I was an alcoholic, and I knew exactly where to go to get help with it. So it wasn't hard for me to say, this is what you've got to do. And I just threw myself into meetings and asked questions of like, what I'm doing is not working. And I did. I was that broken shell where people just loved me until I could love myself enough to be like, I got to stop putting all of me into other people and put some back into Mary. And that was huge. That's probably what, the first year just kept me going. And then when I relocated, I moved here the day after I got my year sober. So I followed the rules enough to be like, I'm not going to make a change for the first year. Then I got in the car and drove out to Florida. And the second I got here, I just jumped in. I got my medallion, my 1-year medallion. And the next day I loaded up my dog and the TV and drove across the United States and was like, we're out of here. But I plugged myself in here. That was the first thing I did was like, you've got to be plugged into a program of recovery, whatever that may be. And thank goodness that's my family here. That's what the last seven years have been, is just learning this program, living this program, being around people that are in this program that are like me, that have walked in these shoes before. And, anything I've had to handle, I've pretty much been able to do it, with grace and dignity and sober. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
One thing that you said was you're learning boundaries.
Oh yeah.
So explain to, anyone listening, explain to me, like, what are boundaries, and like, how do you practice that? Like, is that something you kind of just experience in the moment, or is it something you have to really kind of think about how to set boundaries leading up to moments to possibly set boundaries?
I think it comes from both. I think there's a lot of proactivity in it where I've learned to set boundaries off the start. So I'm not having to have harder conversations down the road and having to letting myself, those boundaries be set beforehand. So I'm not having to set ones later that have already been crossed. But for me, the big thing with boundaries and the big work I've done around it, obviously coming into Alcoholics Anonymous, was a lot of finding, a higher power. I always knew I wasn't God. I wasn't a higher power. But to have somebody have, something bigger than me that I relied on. And through that, I've found that boundaries for me and the way I look at them. And of course, I've seeked outside help on a lot of boundary work. But most of the time when a boundary needs to be set, it's pretty, through conversations with my higher power and just in here. My higher power lives in me. I'm able to know, all right, this isn't right. I need to set a boundary around this. I need to, whatever it may be. lost my train of thought there. But yeah, boundary work for me has been probably one of the hardest things. Like, and I'm constantly doing it. Even right now, I'm reading a book that's all about boundaries, and staying authentic to yourself. And like my my background on my phone right now is a picture of me when I'm 3. And this whole challenge this week is to ask myself, when I'm in situations, am I honoring that 3-year-old girl in this picture? Because that's my authentic self. So anything that is crossing a boundary is taking away my authenticity, is taking away who Mary is, what Mary wants, what, not my will, but one of those things. If stuff is not true to my authentic self, then a boundary needs to be set around it. Because at this stage of my sobriety, I know that the only way for me to be happy, joyous, and free is to be true to myself, be my authentic self. And I've spent so long. I mean, I got sober at 30. So, I mean, it was 30 years of just shape shifting into whatever the world needed me to be. So like these last 8 years have really just been like, what is authentic Mary? What is Mary and her higher power? And if it's anything that's not in that, then I have to set a boundary around it, whether it's, it can be as simple as like, no, that doesn't work for me. It can be work boundaries. There's so many different boundaries I've had to set in all the different communities and areas of my life I'm a part of. But it's really just stuff. Boundaries for me are making sure that nothing I do allows other things to get in and take away from my authentic self and my purpose and what I am doing in this life and what makes me feel, God-centered and makes me the person I authentically am. That's what boundaries are for me. I don't know if that's a good. I try to mix in all my AA, and then there's so much therapy behind that, but
we can tell she's a teacher.
It's a huge umbrella.
I'm learning so much just sitting here and listen. We got to have her at the meeting. That's for sure. So I guess that's so important. It's such an important part of people that have people pleasing as a character defect. That's definitely like the top character defect that I have, where
Same.
It's just kind of like you feel like it's in your human nature, like instinctively to just want to help.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned that it's just really kind of filling a void. It's like just taking up a little bit of time in your day where you're not dealing with the things that like taking care of yourself. And it's such a
looking at yourself. Yeah. It's really easy to look and help everybody around you. But
Joel told me like a while back, maybe, I don't know, it may not have been Joel, but probably was. He was like, can you just sit alone by yourself within a room with you and God? Was that you?
Yeah. It sounds like something.
Yeah. It sounds like something you'd say.
It's profound.
But that was something that I constantly avoided, because I didn't want to be alone. I had like these codependency issues, and recently just in my life, it's been such a rewarding thing to be able to sit and not feel sad or lonely, but having more solitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that boundaries are like the precipice of that, of being able to almost set boundaries with yourself, to tell yourself, no, we're not going to go, seek company, rather than just, being okay with who you are. What do you got, Joel?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like if I look at the underlying layer of like people pleasing, like a lot of times I'll be people pleasing and it's to deep down, like I'll say it's about helping someone, but it's really about some kind of external validation, like making myself helping them, but kind of getting that validation from them at the same time. You know what I mean? And we'll just call it, we look at it sometimes as sacrificing us for someone else, but I think there's some personal attachment issues in there.
Mm-hmm. I think codependency, that's a big one you said. I mean, that's something.
What's recovery look like today for you?
Today, I mean, it's changing, but a lot of the time I've had, I call them my moments where I have to come back as a newcomer. And I'm sort of in that phase of another new coming moment in my recovery. Like I said, I've always been a person that shows up for meetings, that connects to the community, that that makes sure that thing of like talk to another alcoholic every day. I mean, living in Sarasota, all my friends are alcoholics. I don't really have many people in my phone that are not. So today, what my recovery looks like, I'm going back to the basics. I'm reading the Big Book with my sponsor right now, which has been super awesome, just to sit and talk to somebody. And that book for me has been it has forever been a hard book to understand. I know I'm an educator and I shouldn't say that, but it's just this book that I probably overanalyze, I overthink because of who I am. So just to sit and really bounce off like what I'm hearing and what, what other people are hearing to make sure that I get that message that, that the big book is trying to give me. I wake up every morning and the first thing I do is put pen to paper. And I write down, I focus on one of the spiritual principles that I'm going to put in my life that day. I do a lot of work with my stuff with, boundaries and codependencies and things like that of what are going to help me stay in my authentic true self that day, what I'm going to let go of that I have no business being, and what I'm going to give to God. I have to do that daily. I have to look at what, and I think it's through repetition, just looking at things of like today to the best of my ability, what am I going to do? And whatever that needs to be on any day I wake up with alcoholism. So I have to ask immediately for God to remove those defects of character that that for a long time have served me. And that's what I had to learn, that those defects were assets and they're instincts, like they are instinctual things. These defects that I've carried with me, they're instinctual. They're always going to be my go-to. But if I just change how I do things a little bit, talk to another person, then they might, they might always be the first thing, but I can usually look back and say, that's not a good, that's not who Mary is anymore. That instinct is not who Mary is today, and can go down the list and find the thing that's going to, help me handle situations in ways that used to baffle me, in ways I didn't know how to before. And that, with Paul saying the people pleasing thing is so it's so deep seated in me, as a middle child, like all these things, the peacekeeper of the family, like that's what I identified as is for like a really long time. And I didn't have to sit with myself if I was helping everybody else. And like, this has been this chapter of recovery, being away from my family. My sister's going through a divorce, just some stuff where I want to get in and I want to fix it. Like I want to fix everything. I want to be there for my nephews. I want to step up. I want to do it for them so that these people in my life that I love don't have to hurt. But in turn, then, I would be, losing myself. My life is here. My recovery is here. There's things that, the Mary today stays true to what matters, to Mary. And that's a program of recovery. That's staying in my lane. That's not fixing other people's things that I don't have to fix.
Any type of routine gratitude?
Oh yeah, every day I do a gratitude list and I make a plan for the day. A lot of people in my life, I'm a planner, but it's one of those things I think in teaching I've learned, plans change all the time. But if I don't have a plan at the beginning of the day of what I'm going to do that day to be my best self, to honor my higher power, I can always change a plan, but I have to go in with a plan of how I'm going to live out, 10, 11, and 12. The principles in all my affairs. That's the thing I've got to do, is know what those are and make a plan to make sure that when anything arises that I'm practicing those principles.
What would you recommend? We got a lot of newcomers in the houses.
Oh yeah.
What would you recommend? I know one of the big things we're challenging them to go to meetings and get sponsors. They genuinely feel like they don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they feel like they're different than the people in the meetings. Maybe better, maybe worse. Mm-hmm. Like what's a strategy or jeez. Any recommendations on how to?
We were talking about that right before we started this. It's like that, that early sobriety. I mean, I was so scared that, those things that people told me to do, get a sponsor, talk to other alcoholics, go to meetings, and I never thought that. But when you've reached a point of desperation that what you were doing is not working and you don't want to go back there, you'll do what anybody suggests. And I didn't have any experience in halfway houses. I did an outpatient program, but I was little like Miss AA in my outpatient program. Like these people, a lot of them they were going through an outpatient program for alcoholism and drug addiction, but they weren't going to AA meetings. And that to me, I'm like, that's the real bread and butter of this deal is to do a program. And so I was driving people all over to AA meetings and things like that. But for newcomers, it's one of those things. I just had to sit and listen. And I think too, these days, if I look back at the program of recovery of AA, of how it's changed over the years, like that was, how many years ago, if you didn't have a sponsor, like that was just not, that wasn't
Yeah.
acceptable. Like, I don't mean to be, but it's like, that's to work this program, you get a sponsor and you work the steps. Like that's what you do if you really want this thing. So I'm sure there's ego involved in that. And ego wasn't a big thing for me in the beginning. I was very broken down enough to be like, you tell me to get a sponsor, I'm going to get a sponsor. I'm going to work the steps because I wanted to feel better. But if those are all things that you're kind of on the fence about, I mean, I think just going to meetings and talking to people, and when you start to realize that this is not something you have to do on your own, praying for that, to be willing. I mean, that's just, you got to
Yeah.
be willing. That's where willingness comes in for me.
Was there a moment? I had like brief moments here and there, kind of sprinkled in, where like I finally felt the program. I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
fine, I'm gonna stick around. Like like something would hit you, and maybe an entire month would go by, and then I'd get hit in the middle of a meeting or a moment or something where I'm just connecting with people, and I'm like, all right, I'm signing up for another month of this. Like, is there something big that happened, or was it just subtle things that kept you connected? Or
I mean, I think it was subtle. I think a big thing, like I've said, my family, it's not, we have had many members of Alcoholics Anonymous along the way in my family. So, to me, I mean, there's been those moments for me, those personal ones, but it was always, you stick it out. I remember the beginning, and I had a lot of stuff. My brother was already in the program, and he's like, Mary, just don't panic when they say that God word. Like, just don't panic. Because that was my big hang up at that time. He's like, just don't freak out. And he knew me well enough to be like, just sit down and listen. And you will get more comfortable. You will get there. And all those moments that I've had along the way of, like, I can explain any of the last hard moments, the really hard times of lifing in the last 8 years. Now my instincts are to call up another alcoholic and do it with them. So somewhere along the way, it switched to this is what you do. You don't have to do it alone. And I've had those periods, I'm sure you guys, I think everybody has, but of those times I haven't been as involved in AA or in programs, going to meetings as much as I should. And if I look back and I'm honest with myself, like those were tougher chapters of my life. And there's a reason for that. Like, if I wasn't helping other people, talking to my sponsor, those were all moments I looked at that were not, I was not happy, joyous, and free. And I was not in a good place mentally and emotionally.
Did you only have one sponsor the whole time, or did you?
I've had many. I've had 4 at this point. So I had the sponsor.
Did you choose them?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I went up to
deal?
every sponsor I've had and said, will you be my sponsor?
Fire sponsors?
I mean, one of my sponsors was the one I worked with in Albuquerque that I did my first time through the steps with, and just naturally moving here, it's like, you're going to get a sponsor locally.
So you did 3 here?
Mm-hmm. 3 here. And those, I guess, never firing, but that's the other thing too. This Mary that's able to have hard conversations and do them kind and graceful, of like, thank you for all the time and everything you've taught me, but this is where my recovery is taking me, and I'm going to honor that. I'm going to listen to that. And I've had 2 recently, to be completely transparent. My current sponsor was like, I feel like I'm just your sponsor by name. Like, I'm not doing stuff for you. And I'm so grateful that I have, and that was enough to kick me into, like, you're right, I'm not doing the deal. And old Mary probably would have been like, you don't know anything, I'm going to go find me a new sponsor that's going to give me a permission slip to keep doing what I'm doing. Screw that. Like, who are you? But that, even at 7.5 years sobriety, that was like, that's scary enough for me to be like, thank you, you're right, I'm not walking the walk, and thank you for being that person in my life that tells me that, and I need to check myself.
What keeps you from not walking the walk? Just like, you feel like you don't need it, the pressure, the pain?
Yeah, I mean, the not walking the walk is usually just me running on my own self-will.
Yeah.
That feeling of, that I can't say I ever experienced in early sobriety. It wasn't until probably a little farther along that, I got this. But every time Mary says, I've got this, I mean, most dangerous thing I can say is like, no, I'm different. That doesn't apply to me.
Right.
Because it usually always does, as an alcoholic, apply to me for the most part.
Yeah. It's like the scariest
Yeah.
moment, starting to feel like you're normal. Like
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
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 I-
And then that ability as an alcoholic to function in pure chaos is just like, but I don't need to live that way anymore. And if I'm able to get away from it long enough and I know a program of action that brings me peace, that lets me sit with myself, that stuff that 10 years ago I would have been like, nope, I have no interest in it. And today that's all I want, is that inner peace, that relationship with me and a higher power. That's the best thing I've found.
Speaking of relationships,
I don't know. I've never
we
had
waited
any.
30 minutes for it to slide this in. What-
Please.
What's your thoughts on dating in the recovery community? You've done some.
I've done some. I've done not some. Since the people pleasing seems to be the whole umbrella of where my thought process has taken me tonight, that definitely carries over to my relationships in the form of, you show me your red flags, I tell you I'm gonna fix them.
Like, what kind of red flags do you think you can fix?
I mean, red flags are that especially when people are in recovery, that ability to find men that are in vulnerable situations. And I have to call myself out on that today, but like, to not have business dating people that are in earlier sobriety, that still I know are on a journey. And I don't think anybody's journey is obviously linear. And I was not a person who didn't date in my first year. Looking back now, do I think I'm doing a lot of work now that if I just stayed sober my first year of recovery, probably would have been able to work on, and I wouldn't be revisiting it and seeing these patterns now. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. I'm just glad I stayed sober through all of it. But as far as relationships go, I really have to check myself on those. They are a big, as a people pleaser and somebody who codependency is an issue with, I have the big ability to lose myself completely when I'm in relationships with other people. And that puts me in a dangerous spot mentally, emotionally, and with my sobriety. I've dated people who, I remember when I came in and I did when I did my step work with my first sponsor, my big hard boundary around it was, I can date an alcoholic who is in recovery, and I can date somebody who is not an alcoholic. But what I can't date is somebody who is an alcoholic and is using or drinking. And every person I have dated in sobriety at one point has been an active alcoholic or in addiction, with sense of sobriety. But I mean, too, where I just looking at that when somebody knows or has recognized, or I know that they're an alcoholic and an addict and they are actively using and not working a program of recovery, that's just not something I have any business being around as a woman who's in not long-term sobriety, but has worked really hard to get quite a few 24 hours under my belt. So yeah, relationships are an ever, just like boundaries, they're an ever changing thing for me. I am learning, and they take me back. I get 5 steps forward and 2 steps back.
They're just as crazy in recovery as they are
100%. Yeah. And too, like, knowing that a lot of those things and the chaos and the stuff that we put on drugs and alcohol, I'm like, those are actually just character defects, and they're alive and present even when I'm sober, and they have the ability to take front and center when I'm not spiritually fit. Oh, and that's another thing that I always write down when I do my morning. I do the traditions, and they're the traditions as pertain to not the traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous, but traditions through relationships. So that's part of my work, is knowing that relationships are a big gray area for me, that I really have to look at those too on a daily basis. I have to look at the relationships that I have, not just romantic relationships, but how, am I taking care of myself? Are they, am I losing myself in them? Is it something that, am I still my own person? Is this relationship, am I emotionally independent in it? Am I dependent on it? Those are all things I have to check myself on daily.
You still do? Is your home group still on Wednesday night?
I'm actually no, my home group YPG was my home group for a long time. And then it was the Rose group, which is a women's meeting. Shout out to those ladies
Is that
who are
Saturday night?
No, that's on Tuesday nights.
Okay.
And those women, those were like the first women I ever got plugged in with when I moved to Sarasota, and like didn't know anybody, those women. And like you go in that room and like all of them have like 40 plus years
Yeah,
of
yeah.
sobriety.
That's like the
So-
equivalent to our Monday
Yeah,
night.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's very similar. Where those
Tuesday night
women,
women.
it's and like the things they say, I'm just like half of the time I'm like, duh. Like they are just those women know what they're doing, and they 100% took me under their wing.
You still do
Here.
the Saturday night speaker?
I do go to Saturday Night Speaker a lot. I've been doing OMD a lot more.
Yeah. On Saturday nights?
That is on Saturday
And
nights.
Tuesday, Thursday? Or something?
Yeah, I'm doing it a big, huge thing that has changed my recovery is work with emotional sobriety. I don't know if you guys are familiar with emotional
So,
sobriety.
yeah, because
Yeah.
they do that extra. It's kind of like a class, or
It is.
extra
It's a
meeting?
workshop.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not.
It's
It's
a
not.
week or
But that has been a huge thing for me. My current sponsor, has was doing emotional sobriety and was like, "Come check this out." And that's every Tuesday night at 6:00. And that has changed a lot of the step work I do and stuff I'm doing. I do it through emotional sobriety, and it's a big, heavy emphasis on codependency. The emotional. The E over I type, that emotional over intelligence,
Yeah.
or so it just takes the steps of, even further in to really look at character defects and instincts and doing inventories all the time, like constant inventory.
This has been by far the best episode we've ever had.
Is it
Inventories are
anyone
like,
commented? Or
Yes.
oh, I forgot
Oh,
people are watching this. I'm
Me
sitting
too.
here and I'm just like,
Travis Byrne. He
Hi.
say hello, guys.
Hey, Travis.
Travis.
hi, Travis. I don't know if I know Travis.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you,
Alright.
Travis.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of just dial back or go back a little bit because you said a ton of stuff that
Oh.
was like super.
Good. I'm glad. I just feel like
when
I'm
you were-
talking.
when
So
we were
please say
talking about,
something.
like people pleasing,
Mhm.
and you mentioned like your sister back home that's going through a
Mhm.
divorce, and like wanting to be there. I think it's important, and then we talked about when Joel was asking about like what do we say to people in the houses that don't have sponsors or think that they got this. I think there's an important thing to note about like control in the fact that you kind of just have to let them go through it
Mhm.
because people pleasing actually robs them from the experience of kind of going through the pain and going through the hurt or going through the failure of, a lot of people that do get sober after years of thinking they knew they could do it without meetings and without sponsors. It's like finally taking them to a point of so much pain that they are willing to have like the willingness you had
Yep.
where you're like, Mrs.
Willingness.
AA, like when I first came into recovery, I was on fire, like take me to every meeting because I too am not from here. So it's like everybody I know here is in recovery. I think, it's going through that pain or that learning period of doing it on your own and trying to figure it out. I think it's so important. And when people pleasing, for me, it robs people of doing that. And that's kind of how I've had to view it is what makes it so selfish is I'm doing for others what they should be doing for themselves. And
Which is, you're playing God in that moment. I mean, that's
Yeah, I'm
the
trying to
higher
be in
power.
control.
I'm literally doing for you what you can't do for yourself,
Yeah,
and I have no business.
having like recognizing that is a control issue that I
Mhm.
have,
Same.
and I'm not being noble in any sense or helping them in any sense that's really going to benefit them long term.
I think a lot of issue with a lot of people in our houses is that they think that the meetings are just there to keep them sober. So once they feel like they can stay sober, clean and sober on their own, then they're done with meetings. But they're missing the beauty of it. It's not just about staying clean and sober, man. Putting yourself in challenging positions
Mhm.
and challenging all those character defects, and you know what I mean. There's a lot of like my whole program. Like I haven't had a fear of drinking or using for years now. But I know if I don't stay completely involved in meetings and challenging myself, then I'm just not going to be a better person.
Yeah.
And it bleeds into everywhere. Like at my accounting job, dealing with people and like it helps with my leadership, like all that stuff, my communication. And when we have group meetings, it's like I'm the only one being honest and real in the room. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot because I've been doing this for 5 years, talking in front of a group of people about my, insecurities, everything.
Yeah, I've realized I don't have as many friends anymore because I started being honest with people right? Like, there's a lot of I've got like long-term friends I've known that I rarely hear from because they know when they call me, like, and they have an issue, like I'm not gonna just like candy coat it. And had a friend reach out to me today.
From jail?
No, back home. And actually, the last time he called me, he was pretty much like doing a 12-step call from Kentucky. Like, I need help. And I'm like, well, are you still drinking? He's like, I can't go an hour.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, you need to go to detox. You need to do this. Like, that's not healthy. That's not smart. And this went on for weeks. And finally I was just like, you got to stop calling me. I've given you everything I can give you. Well, I haven't heard from him in months. And finally he called me just today to tell me that he had been sober for 30 days.
That's awesome.
But what I've noticed is
Kentucky sober.
Yeah. What I've noticed about a lot of
It's
stuff
not California.
is
It's got to be different.
what I've noticed about a lot of stuff is people will not call you, or they
Mhm.
don't want to hang out with you because they know that I feel like they just know that I'm going to be there for them, but in a very firm way.
Yeah.
And
Too
with-
raw,
You're gonna
too
shoot it
real.
straight. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna. Yeah.
Me and Joel's kind of had to learn how to do that with the houses,
Mhm.
like good cop, bad cop. And I never thought I'd see the day where people preferred to talk to Joel over me.
Yeah, Paul. Yeah, he's been playing back cop a little too long out there. Man.
Yeah, it's the houses are weird too, because like some people will view meetings as punishment, as like instead of
They don't
like
think they need it.
yeah,
It's
like it's
crazy.
like a weird form of accountability for them.
And I mean, that's like, I mean, I know I go willingly to meetings. Like, that's what I look forward to. But it is, I get that in early recovery where I think I viewed it that way too. In a lot of ways, it's like another meeting. I have to go to
Punishment.
that.
Houses is punishment.
Yeah.
When I look back, I'm like, that was the greatest gift I've ever been
Mhm.
given in life. Is those meetings, the houses,
Structure, yeah.
you know what I mean, the leadership in those houses transform the entire rest.
You'll
of my life.
notice like the like cliche things that you hear in meetings, like you get to do this today,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It doesn't translate very well to people that don't go to meetings.
Yeah.
Like we had an incident last night where one of the houses there was a random drug screen, and you live in a halfway house, like you get randomly tested, but the person felt targeted. And I'm just like, so I'm like, you get to take a drug test today. And they're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, like your decisions led you to this point. You should be thankful that you're in this situation. And, long story short, it's really hard to communicate recovery to people that aren't working a program of recovery. And that's frustrating because you know that how beneficial it would be to them.
Oh yeah, I mean, in thinking too, like what you were saying with like people in early recovery and halfway houses, things like that. Like to this day, I don't learn anything without getting really uncomfortable. So if but I can't imagine walking into sobriety having any, because there is so much. I mean, there's so much to learn. There's so much to choose from to figure out. But if I had to do that without a sponsor, like that would just I mean, to me, I feel like it would make it so much more overwhelming. Like, thank goodness I had these women along the way that like kind of spoon fed it to me. Because I did. I mean, and I had a lot of, I was telling my sponsor the other day that I was like, yeah, I remember when my first meeting and somebody said, read the doctor's opinion. And my whole thought was like, oh, they want me to read the doctor's opinion because I'm just clearly so intelligent that's what they tell everybody. But I needed those people to just be like, this is where you start. Like, I needed to know on a daily basis, this is your next step. This is what you do. And then over the years, those, the next right thing is inherently what I do. And that I don't think I could have done without getting really uncomfortable multiple times in and out of sobriety to the point where something had to change. I got to get really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because if you're living in a halfway house and you're comfortable, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Like you should be I don't want to say extremely uncomfortable, but you should have enough discomfort living in that environment to motivate you to want to get better into a better situation.
And to do anything. And, I think at that point I'd be open to suggestions.
Yeah. Facts.
I would hope I would be open to suggestions. Not that there's anything, I think a lot of people that's been a part of their story, but it's like, you would hope you'd be humble enough to be like, yeah, I'm open to suggestions.
Theodore, what is Theodore?
Ted.
Yeah, Ted.
Say this was way better than my podcast.
Yeah.
No, Ted was good, man.
I don't know who Ted is.
Ted was on a few weeks ago.
Okay.
No, this has actually been great. Like, it's it's really cool to sit and have an intellectual conversation about recovery on, because we goof off a lot on here. Is something wrong with the camera?
That one is dying. It's just
Oh, okay, perfect. We'll just turn it sideways.
Oh, it'll get okay.
What's really what?
You can see the dog.
Yeah, that's fine.
Put it on me.
That's the best.
Put it right on there.
The really cool thing about with the recovery homes and working with people in early recovery is it has helped my recovery so much, where there's a difference between serving and pleasing people, right? Like we have we call it junkie stunt, like where there's people just trying to get another handout.
Yeah.
And then there's people that you can just see in their eyes where they're getting a hand up and they're utilizing it and they're taking initiative. And a lot of times it comes out of left field with people that you've seen in and out of the rooms. We talk about John all the time, and there's a lot of people that we've seen over the years. There's a kid right now that's in one of our houses. He was in our houses like, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago. And just talking to him now, like his purpose has changed. His willingness is there. And like he's getting it. Like I remember we couldn't get him to get a job to save his life the last time he was in that. How long do you think Mike was in the house? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Forever.
For a while. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And like this time through, it's like out walking across town, found a job, works hard,
Yeah,
goes
just
to meetings.
willing.
Yeah.
That willingness is huge. Yeah.
We got just a different perspective of recovery because we're in the we went through halfway houses, leadership in halfway houses, ownership in halfway houses. We blurred the lines between recovery, addiction, and substance abuse to being a parent, an older brother, a family member to a lot of these people. We've dragged them through their financial lives. We've helped it goes way. We've been their sponsors at times. I don't even know. I forget what like regular.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole behind the scenes thing that I think I don't know.
Well, I can explain it like this. Like when you're going through recovery and living in the home or whatever, it's for you. Now on this side of it, it's like you're looking and seeing what other people actually deal with. And it made me feel like, oh, I didn't have it that bad. Like when you see someone that's like dual diagnosis, dealing with mental health, or like maybe they're dealing with a death in the family, or they're dealing with, not only substance abuse, but maybe their kids are involved in the sense that they're trying to get reacquainted with them. You just see all these different varieties of recovery and what different people go to, and then you also get to see what works for them. And one of the core things is sponsorship and meetings, right? Like I don't think that we've seen anybody have long-term success that didn't have some form of a 12-step recovery program involved. So then it also takes on a new life when you're talking to people, because you almost feel arrogant when you're like, I hate looking at people like, trust me.
Yeah.
But it's just the truth. Like one thing is like we have this mandatory meeting on Wednesday nights. It always kind of irks me when someone calls to tell me they can't make it because they don't have a ride, and then you get to the meeting and you watch some guy ride his bike across town, or left his work shift on his lunch break just to come to the meeting to go back to work. Like, so your patient grows thin with petty things, but you also have to have enough patience and grace with those people to know that they're, they may just be scared, or they may have some insecurities or irrational fears about how to approach these things. And it's complicated, but it's also very informative to my own personal journey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think too, I'm really grateful. I mean, I have to plug into, I'm chairing the beginners meeting this month, and it's like YPG for a long time there's a lot of newcomers that come into that meeting, and young people, but to remember that, to, not that I forget it, but it's to make sure I don't forget it. That early sobriety and what that looked like. Because if you don't, that it's really easy to forget, but you guys, you are like the service you do on a daily basis that takes you right back to the beginning with a lot of people, over and over again. I think I can't necessarily imagine, but it's in my program in a different way. It's
Yeah.
beginners meetings, any sponsee that I've had, or, there's usually certain meetings. I'm not going to go get a sponsee at, a meeting where all women, I'm the one with the least sobriety there. So making sure too that I'm in places where I can be helpful to newcomers and be of service and exactly give people grace, knowing that, it's a hard thing to do and it's an uncomfortable place to be. But to know enough to offer suggestions of this is what works if you really want it.
Yeah. Like soaking up this pocket of time where it's, 8 years of recovery or 5 or 4 or whatever, like really soaking up like and living in that moment where I pray that I make it to 40 years of sobriety one day so I can be that person in the room that just raises their hand and says, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Right. And then
Yeah.
sits
So
back
yeah,
down.
5 words to drop the mic. Yeah.
But also to those listening that are in their first 30, 60 days, be that person that shows up and gets that service commitment as the coffee
Yeah.
maker or the door greeter, or be that person at 3-4 years that's doing the service commitments or involved in H&I and really taking an opportunity to live in that moment because it's such a beautiful thing to experience. And I'm super grateful for the opportunity to work in the homes but it comes with having like unspoken boundaries. Like there's just certain days where I don't want to say my phone's off, but I'm unavailable.
Yeah.
And I have to do that.
How many houses do you guys have now? How many
8.
women? 8? And how many women? How many men?
One.
There's one woman?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the biggest house.
It's one too many.
It's the biggest one.
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of rack.
Yeah, there's 17 girls.
Shout out female house. What's
yeah,
up?
no, they're great. Shout out Nikki and Cindy and
Oh, that's awesome.
all the
Yeah.
girls over there.
But it is weird. Like it's sponsorship on it's just a weird I mean, we know where you sleep, where you work, where you
Yeah.
it's like it's it just changed. Like it got overwhelming. It took a new turn.
And so do you guys, you sponsor guys in the house or is that?
I did for a long
Okay.
time, and then it just got it's like when was I not sponsoring some? They all kind of just line up as to some degree. It just gets messy.
Mhm.
It's so weird because you will be sitting in a moment where like you show up to a house and there's a guy that walks up and says, "Can you be my sponsor?" And you internally want to. My rule of thumb is I don't, because I want them to go to a meeting and get one. I feel like sometimes I'm robbing them of the
whole experience.
yeah. There's been cases
talking to a complete stranger and being
Yeah.
asking for help.
there's
Anything
been
uncomfortable for them. Like get uncomfortable.
there's been cases where like a guy's relapsed a couple of times. He's went to detox, he's come back, and I've been like, I'm taking you through the steps.
Yeah.
And here's what I need you to do. You have to call me every day. You have to do this. And what I've experienced is, I don't know if it's more common than not, they don't call you. So it also kind of wears on you. So I've just kind of like made it a rule of thumb, like I don't sponsor people in the homes. Now, if they lived in a different halfway house that I wasn't involved in, probably.
I mean, think of how uncomfortable going into a meeting and getting the sponsors of some of these people that will watch them relapse, get disqualified out into the streets or into a program. They'll come back, same thing over and over. We'll see them at the Salvation Army. We'll see them in jail. We'll see them at Restore program. We'll see them back in the house, in another house, back to the streets, back to calling us from jail, repeating the whole process. And we're like, are you sure you don't want to go to a meeting, get a home group, and get a sponsor?
Try this.
Like, I will. It's like,
Yeah.
We're 6 years into this.
Yes.
I seen a guy the other day at one of the recovery like detoxes in town, and the long-term one, I don't want to say because they'll know who it is, but he's lived in our houses off and on over the last couple of years, and he like walks up to me, he's like, I got it this time. And I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, it was the spiritual aspect, I didn't go to church, I didn't have this, like,
just
and I'm like, okay,
it
like,
wasn't. I didn't get honest and uncomfortable. It was the spiritual.
Yeah. I was doing it back when I was sponsoring a lot of women. I take a meeting into, I guess it's not called First Step anymore. Light Share.
Yep.
Yeah. Either way, but I'm that person. I was there like 4 nights a week. I'm bringing like step work. I'm doing all this. And then it crushed my soul a lot when those women would go out there and go immediately. Yeah. So
and then you're constantly starting back over in the first couple of steps.
Yeah.
Like I would get so excited when I would sponsor someone and we start getting to step 9.
Yeah.
When we start
into
and like it's just like the hamster wheel. It's like,
Mhm.
then it's like, oh, they go back out and you don't hear from them. So you have to go find a new sponsor and take them through the steps. I'm like, I want to go through.
Yeah, all the way. Let's
Yeah,
get
let's
to
do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, has it been an hour already?
Really?
51 minutes.
Okay, so
Oh.
we got 9 left. All right, so let's
See how everything has to be an hour too? Like a
That's I
podcast?
think we live our life in hour time frames. Yeah. It's 1 hour at a time.
I mean, if the first AA meeting was just 50 minutes for whatever reason,
Yeah.
Think of all those extra 10 minutes.
Could you
So-
imagine if they were 2 hours and we have like, thank gosh
Oh,
they
yeah.
were 2 hours or what? would I-
they wouldn't exist.
No,
No,
that's,
it's-
nobody can do anything
Oh,
for
my
2
goodness.
hours.
Everyone's always
not
showing up
today.
late.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not this day and age.
we've always kind of done the podcast for an hour.
Mhm.
There are times where like somebody just runs over. We don't like cut them off or anything, but
Yeah.
So let's shift gears. Let's talk about something maybe not recovery related.
Okay.
You had a bike accident.
Oh,
You want to tell us about it?
please, because the world needs to hear this.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, I got on an electric bike. I can't say I've ridden many. I've dabbled. And as we're sitting here being like, God, the day I think I know it all, I got on this electric bike and I'm pretty sure I was an expert right away. And I
It's a
figured
bike,
out,
right?
huh?
It's a bike.
It's a bike. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been riding bikes, all my life. But I was on Weber and I hit a curb and it just threw me over the handlebars. Landed on my
didn't
elbow.
see the curb or
Huh. No, I mean, I saw it, I guess. I mean, it was a curb, but they're really thin. And the way I had my pedals, I didn't apparently have them up. I had one down and that pedal caught it
yeah.
and threw me. Yeah. I didn't go into the street or anything. I lost a little faith in humanity because like nobody stopped on Weber. And I was just like, I know today that I've done enough work on myself that if I saw somebody fling off their bike on
Yeah.
Weber, I would pull over. And ask
Sarasota
if they're
happens
okay.
every
but-
day on Weber over there.
Yeah. I guess that was probably one of many that people saw that day.
Yeah.
But I did, my AirPod flew out of my ear, and the one silver lining of this whole thing is that I didn't know I could find my AirPod with my phone because
Yeah.
it went and flung and like got buried. So I mean, I stood out
Nice.
there and like
And
a
you
metal.
can be like, no.
Yeah, and it
it's
found it.
all-
I had to bury it out, but I got my AirPod.
Oh
back.
my god, you're all bloody and
Yeah, I am. I'm a can. Yeah, I'm
It's like a
crying, and I'm-
phone.
but I found the air. Yeah, I found the
standard
AirPod.
Weber type behavior.
And it
Wow.
was, I mean, it was swollen. And it was, of course, like a week at work. We had this whole like huge, my kids, like the whole school puts on a market and we do money for charity and it's amazing. But it's like the worst week I possibly could have been injured because I had to do a ton of physical labor and like my kids set up a shop. So, I mean, I just probably made it worse. I kind of just pretended it and I'm still dealing with it. It's been like a month and
It's
a
a
half
pretty
now.
serious injury, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What was
I
it?
didn't break anything.
Was your tricep?
Tricep. I think a partial tear in my tricep. So I'm at the point now where, I mean, I'm trying to I iced, I did a lot of rest, things like that, but I'm deciding physical therapy, what's next.
But you're extremely active.
Very.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I don't sit down for the
Like recently, didn't you recently do like that? What was it, 75?
75 hard. Yeah. Well, I mean, those are all things like I've always played sports all my life. And so I wouldn't even, if I'm not doing something that is active and moving my body, then my head just completely, I mean, I go crazy. So like it's with soccer for a long time. That was where all my discipline came from. Then I played kickball, traveled and played kickball all over the country. Drank a lot along the way. And so now in sobriety, I'm finding those avenues, but of course I wouldn't feel comfortable going and like playing in a kickball league where everybody's drinking and
No,
it's just not, it doesn't sound appealing.
I'll tell you. So, I don't know. Within the last year, there was. I don't know if you heard this, but like we went out to a nightclub together.
Who?
Me,
We-
Joel.
Oh,
yeah,
did
Uh,
we? Yeah, we did.
yeah. To a
couple
couple.
times. Yeah.
So there for the longest time on the podcast, Joel would talk about how what.
2 times.
Yeah.
times.
Oh, you went
Remember.
twice. Okay.
So
Yeah.
so like, I don't remember how the conversation got brought up, but Joel had mentioned like going out like dancing.
Was that your birthday?
No, was first time. First time we went to Georgie's,
Hmm.
and he came that night. He was at
Yeah.
the phone for an hour
Oh,
before
yeah.
he
Oh,
went to his
this
side.
was
This is when I just met her.
Yeah.
Georgie's like, is it a bar? Is it a club?
Yeah,
And
Okay.
the
it's like a
second
nightclub.
time
It's
was
a
Okay.
my
GTC area.
second time was my birthday.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for context, like we would talk on the podcast and he would bring up going out to like the dance clubs,
Mhm.
and I would always make comments like, that sounds terrible. It sounds miserable. Like, why would I want to go and surround myself with people drinking and all this?
The women,
And
man.
and he was,
Beautiful women. What are you talking about?
but he would make this comment. He's like, I'm doing all these steps. Like I should be practicing these and
Mhm.
like putting myself in uncomfortable situations. And so he's like, don't knock it till you try it. So I'm like, all right, cool. You know, like I'll get out. And we went, and the experience, the best way I know to explain it was I was not tempted to drink at all.
Mhm.
It was, at first, it was so uncomfortable because, like, I'm sitting, what were we drinking? Like club soda?
Oh, that's Diet Coke.
Diet Coke.
Hey,
Yeah.
what else?
But we like left
Those are on
there.
fire, man.
We left there and we went downtown and like we went into this one place. What was it called? This like Molly's. And I'm a big dude. Like we're like squeezing through these tight crowds of people.
Oh.
They go all-
It's like a college bar, you know. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
stand up and scream at each
Yeah.
other.
like, but
for
like
a hallway.
we've all been in those
Hallway.
situations.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and so going back and like just viewing it through the lens of sobriety, it was like
Oh yeah,
I used to be that guy, like begging the bartender to like get me a drink, and it's all
Yeah.
congested, and you're shoulder to shoulder, and everything's overpriced, and
just yelling at each other,
Yeah.
just over the music until you're drunk.
That sounds terrible.
but you're there.
yeah.
Yeah,
No.
and so I realized too, like it's like there's no place for me in this.
No.
It doesn't mean that I can't go there and like, you know, be present. But I'm looking down not looking down my nose at people, but I'm like looking at myself like, oh, well, I've proven that there's nothing for me here. At
See,
least at
my
this present.
brother's got more time than me. He's gonna 12, 13 years. I can't even remember. And he's younger than me, so he's just like an overachiever through and through. But he is at the bars every weekend,
Yeah.
sober at the bars. I mean, he lives in a college town. He lives in Oxford, Mississippi, and that's what people do. But I'm like, I can't imagine. But he dances, he does all of it, and it's just not.
Well, I think of like where that would apply in like other areas of my life, like going on a fishing charter with buddies that do drink,
Yeah.
or people
Mhm.
that are there drinking, or
Yeah.
like it doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. It doesn't make me think that anyone's worse than me or I'm better than
Mhm.
them. It's like very humbling to just be present in those environments. But it was it was extremely intimidating at first.
Mhm.
Cause I'm like, okay, let me get dressed up and then I'd sit in the car forever. Like, yes. Yeah. I
The
just,
second time we went for
Well, it takes you right back to the original spot of like drinking. Like, here's a social event.
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable as hell, and I've got this tool I'm going to use to take the edge off. You know
Well,
what I
yeah,
mean?
you
And
drink
you don't
before
got
even
that
went.
tool.
You don't
You
have
got
it.
that
So
tool.
you're going, yeah.
So you have to get it as
Raw dogging
uncomfortable,
it.
you know,
That's-
like until it gets normal. You know what I mean? Did we go? We went to what? Cascanel?
Cascanes like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. It's like we don't like that. Well, that doesn't even feel like you're going out because there's so many like old timers. Like if you get out of there before 11, you know, downtown,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't feel. It just feels like
It's
you're.
not like a party.
It-
So is that
Yeah.
11 the switch? Is
It's just
11
a
when it
band
becomes.
and
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
live music and there's people, but it gets sloppy and rowdy.
Oh, these old
You-
people, they getting drunk. They were
Yeah, I mean-
See, like I like live music and I'll do, but
Yeah.
I guess too, like I'm Sarasota. I'm very okay with like most stuff shuts down at 8 o'clock. Like
Yeah.
I always say, there's an 87-year-old woman inside of me that's just like
Yeah. Can't go to the bathroom without.
Yeah.
After 11, it's like everyone's
like it
doing
just
drugs in the
flips.
bathroom. It starts to get rowdy. People start kind of getting in fights, and
like,
Was there any fun in watching that? Like,
Yeah, it was
watching people
hilarious.
turn sloppy. I could feel like that could be
well,
entertaining.
what was hilarious to me was like I would sit there and like I knew exactly what was going on
Mhm.
as these two dudes went to the bathroom to
Yeah.
get like, you know, it's like,
And but now in Cascanes, like for example, they have two security guys in the back, and you just can go just one. at
yeah,
a
but
time in the
the
back.
security
yeah,
guys
they
are
rip the door off, and
Yeah.
they made it
Yeah.
no fun
Yeah.
to do
Yeah, but
drugs.
just for clarity, the security
police.
the
Yeah.
security guy was selling the drugs
Yeah,
to the
Know
guys. that
your
were there.
know your audience.
Yeah.
Why don't you make
They-
this?
you slip a security guy $5,
where's
he'll
the
watch your
freaking-
back for you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
On top of the chairs, they put you down.
what
Yeah,
do
They
you mean?
keep the lion Get down.
Sarasota, get it
See, but I
together,
was
man.
like a dive bar girl, so
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense. Like even in the towns I've lived in, like I was usually with, on average age of like 60 to
Yeah.
like I didn't go to like clubs and go downtown. In Albuquerque, it's just it's downright dangerous.
I ran with the
Like you don't go to
Latinos.
dance clubs unless I mean there's
I love
Bloods,
that,
there's Crips,
so-
like you don't do that. Yeah.
I love them so.
That's see, yeah. I took a meeting this weekend into a house of women, and like one of the women was graduating, and she's like, I went dancing, and it was amazing, and I'm just sitting there where I'm like,
Sarasota, like if you're over like 55 in
Mhm.
Sarasota and you want to be social and not drink,
yeah,
there's so many people that are not drinking all over this town. They're dancing.
yeah,
I mean, they're like, it's weird, like they're partying, like listening to live music, not drinking. Like it's a, I mean, if you could, I don't know.
Now with your jobs, I get like overwhelmed about people because during the week I'm a teacher.
yeah.
I work with babies,
Mm-hmm.
and at night sometimes I work as a photo, so I see a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that night I was overwhelmed with this.
Yeah, that's I don't
Like-
that's when I need a break from people. Yeah. So these places for me, I'm like the time I do have, I feel like
And
it's-
sometimes at the store we
Yeah.
are like cannot walk.
Mhm.
Like we are like the bars.
When we go out to bars and stuff, like that to me was step work.
yeah.
Because
yeah.
it challenged me to be in a room
Well, getting
uncomfortable
uncomfortable.
and
Yeah.
shit and also when you left and waking up early in the morning, going to gym the next day and be like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not
Hungover right now.
not hungover, but like just the amount of money I would have spent and the dumb shit I would have, you know what I mean?
Do you think that's why the gym's so slow on Saturday mornings?
I'm sure.
Yeah, but then you got the gym addicts in there.
Yeah.
Oh, that are all
Yeah.
the time.
Which is,
Yeah.
which is you.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Like, oh, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
We're friggin'
You're
back
getting your
here,
fix.
back
Yeah.
here again.
yeah,
Yeah.
trying to build something from this moment. Yeah.
All right, how are we looking? Is it time to cut it off? All right, perfect. Well, this has been episode 55. Mary, thank you so much.
Thank you for
coming
having
on.
me.
This was
That
a great
fun. That was
episode.
good.
I
Good
want
to
to say
chat.
thanks to everybody watching. Please check out ProjectTexasCorp.com. You can go there. You can check out our website. You can check out the merch. All the merch that we sell on the website and on Amazon.com. All the proceeds go to helping people in early recovery. We buy phones, bus passes, clothes, work boots, tools, like anything to help someone in early recovery get back on their feet. That's what the funds from those shirts go to. Plus, you get a cool shirt. Wednesday nights at 7:00, Next Gen Recovery. That's also on our Facebook page. You can watch that live, or you can attend live at 1801 North Lockwood Ridge Road. Check that out. Who's this Wednesday?
I don't know. You should sign up.
Is it the 29th?
I would love
I-
to.
Yeah, you should definitely get you on.
I
think
I've
it's-
been there a couple times now.
I think it's John, Tyler, and Ange this
Yeah.
week. We're going to be at a
A panel.
We'll be at Grasp.
When you're gonna move to the new location?
no word of that yet.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
Oh, the grass. I talked to you about.
What is it? What is it we're going to?
On the 29th,
Yeah.
next Wednesday, we're going to Grasp. What's it called? I don't know. It's like a foundation. I don't know.
Yeah, Sonia's
Big
going to
thing.
crucify us over
Dress
that.
nice. Let's do it.
Yeah, shout out to Grass. Great
Dance.
foundation.
It's, yeah, dance party.
But yeah, that's episode 55. And so for everyone here at Project Texas, my name's Paul.
Joel, love you guys.
Peace.
Mary.
Yeah, me.